All right. We are live. Welcome on in, everybody, to the Titan Series Creator Edition. I guess this is episode number 2. And we have, if you don't know, the one and only Joshua Coburn joining us. He's got a collaboration in beard products. Hang on one second. All right, so he has a beard oil collaboration, which is super awesome, and he's got a book, and we'll get into talking about that. But David, how are you doing today, this weekend? How's everything going for you?
Well, I got to come off quarantine today, so that's exciting. Straight back to work. Man, really, I've just kind of taken the last 2 weeks and just been very reflective. You know, I got to spend some time with the wife and the baby that normally I wouldn't get. A brand new video game dropped, and I had to get elite status on that real quick. But yeah, man, I've just been hanging out. It's good to remember the things you need to be grateful for sometimes, and to forget the things you don't need. It's nice to let that go sometimes, you know.
Heck yeah, it is. And Mr. Coburn, how are you doing this weekend, man?
I'm absolutely fabulous. I got no reason to complain ever, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is definitely a good thing. So we were kind of talking in the green room just a little bit about life and how everything is in the world today. But can you catch everybody just kind of up to speed quick? If they don't know who you are, what's your elevator pitch for Joshua Coburn?
Sure, my elevator pitch. You know what? I'm just some small town dude from the middle of nowhere that happens to write books and speak all over the world. And it's my job to make people's lives better. That's it. I change lives in the best way, and that's all I know how to do. That's kind of the quick and dirty. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm really just a guy that failed a bunch of businesses, made a bunch of shitty decisions, learned a lot of lessons in the process, and now I share them. So that's it, straight up.
So how did that all come about? I was kind of scoping out your website and scoping out stuff, and not only did I find a bunch of pictures of you before you put on some muscle, before you put on a beard.
Right.
So what's kind of, you mentioned, businesses and stuff like that. What was that venture kind of like for you, and what got you into speaking?
Well, I'll kind of start from the beginning here. I guess what got me into speaking is hitting bottom. I hit bottom back in 2001. September 5th, 2001 was kind of where I was at. And situation was that, I'm a small town kid who was heavily tattooed, didn't fit in, wasn't comfortable with myself. And I believed what other people said. You're never going to have a career. You're ugly and disgusting and all the things that kind of come up when you're different, right? And I believed a lot of that, and I let it get to me, and like I said, I hit bottom. I was depressed, filled with anxiety, and I decided I was going to check out. Well, obviously I didn't do that. And long story short, when I came out the other side of that, I kind of thought, you know what, I can't be the only person who struggled with depression and anxiety and anger and other things that we struggle with. So I kind of committed to myself that I would dig myself out of my own hole, and I would help others kind of on my way up. And that's kind of my impetus for speaking, but and writing books. But the kind of holes that are in that story are the fact that I did own businesses. I had clothing lines and body modification businesses and a bunch of stuff, a record label, like publishing company, all kinds of things. And the only one that I have left is a publishing company, but all the other ones were successful to some degree. Some went upside down, all kinds of things for different reasons. And, learned a ton from, investing in businesses and failure and what that really means and all that kind of stuff. So, but while I was dealing with the piercing and stuff like that, body modification, I would speak at large kind of health department expos in the Midwest, and that'd be like 500 to 600 people. So that got me comfortable in front of crowds. And then obviously hitting bottom and rebuilding, just kind of allowed me to get in front of those crowds again once I started reaching books or writing books. As those started to sell, people started to ask for my presence. Apparently writing a book gives you some sort of credibility, right? Whether it's real or perceived doesn't matter. So that's what it came down to, truly.
So, David, we can't hear you. Oh, bye, Dave. No, I can't hear you. So you talk about body modification, and I saw that.
How about now?
Oh, now we can, yeah.
It's got a touch screen mute button on it. I found it. I found the mute button.
It's because you play with your mic every 2 seconds.
It's what I do.
So were you saying something?
Yeah, so I've seen Joshua's, not in person. I know you were in Missouri a while back. I know we had talked kind of after that. But I've seen the aftermath of people, like when you do your Instagram lives, people reaching out saying, we appreciate it. And the way that you talk back to those people, you would think you guys have known each other for 20 years. So the impact that you're having is amazing. What was it? Was it a high school in Marshall that you spoke at?
Yeah. Yep. A high school. Yep. It was
that's like my hometown.
Oh, okay. That's crazy. Yeah. It ended up being like 1,000 people, I think, total. Something like that. So, students, staff, etc.
It's epic, man. That's so. I was telling Tyson before you were backstage, like this, we have this one and another one coming up that are the two that I've been gunning for since we decided to do the Titan series, even the previous grouping, just because it's so cool to see. I mean, I guess I know a little bit more. I've read one of the books. I've watched a lot of YouTube stuff. But just to see what you do, man, I don't know if you hear it enough, but like the world needs more people like that, like the positivity. The world is kind of in the dumps at the moment. Like more people need to have that positive, outgoing attitude. What about the death come lifting shirts?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate that completely.
Oh, no worries, man.
But yeah, Death Comes Lifting is a company that I love. Zach, the owner, is a super badass kid. And, it's this kind of amalgamation of fitness and horror and punk and metal and like all the things that like I am built of, and I just started getting his shirts because I liked them, and over time we just started talking about maybe doing a collab shirt, and I think if memory serves me, there's still a few left, and I don't think there's a ton of sizes, but I think there's a few left. But you can go to his site and get it. It's a werewolf shirt, and the cool thing about it is, like, his whole thing was lift weights, drink blood, lift weights, right? Which I love. And of course, my whole thing that I always tend to say is kick all the ass. So of course, the back of the shirt just says lift weights, drink blood, kick all the ass, because that's kind of what we believe in. So yeah, that's what it was all about. We launched that, gosh, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago-ish, give or take. And just kind of as a limited run because we appreciate each other's style and what we do. So we thought we'd just give it a run together.
Yeah, I like that, like old school, like just horror. Just the way that shirt was done was super impressive, man. It was a cool shirt.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely got that old school kind of creep show, Tales from the Crypt comic book kind of thing about it.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. I cut Tyson off. What were you saying, Tyson?
No, I was just going to say, so how does a small town Iowa kid get into body modification? Like, where did that come from? You usually don't see that, it seems like, in the smaller towns. They're more reserved and kind of laid back. So what, like, fueled that passion in you to get that going?
Sure. Really, as a kid, like, I wasn't busy out, getting crazy outdoors or anything once I got into my early teens, and I wasn't playing video games and shit because we were broke. We didn't have the money for that. So I would read, and I would read primarily things like National Geographic or things like Rip magazine and Metal Edge magazine and stuff like that, which are, Metal Hammer, which are all music related. So what I would see is I'd see like, people in Hawaii and New Zealand and, Africa with body modifications and tattoos and piercings and all these things. And then I'd see musicians there, in the late 80s, early 90s that were starting to get heavily tattooed. And I could see how the kind of past and present would kind of like meld together. And, that fueled my passion for travel and for body modification and things that weren't kind of inherently available to me. So that's really where it started. But an old friend of mine, Darren McKeag, had a kind of one-man tattoo studio that he was looking to grow. And I wanted to do body modification and learn more about kind of that world. So I started working the front desk there, and it grew into me, traveling and learning body modification and doing piercing and suspension and implants and scarification and all kinds of stuff. So it really took me on really what I would consider my first part of my adult journey. So that's kind of how it began. And I mean, I traveled everywhere. I was in Japan and Russia and all over the place with that.
Oh, wow,
that's awesome.
Crazy. So do you mind telling us a little bit about, my two questions would be the ones on your hands.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, those. And then your 3-dot tattoo, because I see you post things about it and getting people like, who's got the Coburn 3-dot tattoo? So what are those two things kind of?
Well, I'll start with the 3 dots, which, I haven't had on a lot of the time, but I do have 3 dots tattooed on my forehead. You can see on my wife's throat, she has them as well. Back in, I don't know, like 20 years ago, I got them tattooed on my forehead because I was looking for something that would just kind of, I don't know, be something that I can look in the mirror and know that I kind of got to keep my shit together and just be my best self. So what they represent is the body, the mind, and the environment, which are the 3 things that make us as people, me, you guys, whomever, really the individuals that we are, right? Because if you have your mind right, you have your body kind of on the right path, and you surround yourself with good people, you're going to go in the direction you need to go. And that's kind of what the reminder was always about. And that's what's crazy is I got it for me, but now, 20 years later, there's all these people all over the world with it. I had a guy from Canada today who has them tattooed on his hands say that he was like at the grocery store or something. And he's like, somebody saw them and pointed at him. And all they said was, is that Joshua Coburn? And like, that's insane. Like that's somewhere in Canada. Like what in the hell? So it blows my mind. But yeah, that's kind of the story behind those. And then these, they're silicone. They're kind of, I don't know if you guys can see real well, but they're squishy.
Holy cow. That's crazy.
And these were done, gosh, I don't know, like 15 years ago or something like that now, by Steve Hayworth, who's definitely the premier body modification artist out there in the world and an inventor of all things 3D in terms of body mod. But yeah, for me, it was just a matter of like pushing limits as far as I can, because that's what I'm here to do, right? I don't want to kind of get to my grave feeling good. I want to slide in there, a dusty carcass ready to go. So this was kind of my way to continue to push my limits to the next level, because it's scary. I mean, the thought of like someone cutting you open and putting something under your skin is like a weird thing, right? But I mean, it is, at least in terms of this. If you think in terms of like, breast implants or knee replacements and stuff, it's not scary and everybody's cool with it. But the second you do something like this, everybody's like, oh man, I don't know if that's too cool. But that's their fucking problem, not mine, right?
That's the world, man. That's the world.
So do you get, like, when you first got your face tattoos, you said it's been quite a few years, which I feel like tattoos in general have just kind of been okay-ish in mainstream for the last 3 to 4 years.
Right.
So did you get a lot of head-turning questions, people looking at you crazy, jobs declined, things like that, just because you had tattoos on your face?
Never jobs declined or anything like that, because frankly, I just wouldn't work for a place that didn't appreciate that, honestly. I mean, for me, when I walk into, and I haven't ever been really on a job interview anyway, but, if that's the case, I'm just like, look, they need me more than, I need them. I'm not You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll just, if it's not gonna fit, it's not gonna fit. So I don't worry about that shit. But when it comes down to kind of other things like stairs and stuff, yeah, of course. I mean, it still happens to this day in airports and stuff, because you have families from all over the world who, you know, they might not have left their small town in Oklahoma, and here they are in the Charlotte airport for the first time, you know, and the world's a big wonder at that point to them. And, you know, I get stares and stuff, but that's cool because I use it as an opportunity. You know, if somebody's staring at me and, you know, talking shit or not, it's an opportunity for me to educate them, or at least show that, look, I'm not some asshole. I'm a regular dude who just happens to appreciate body modification. Like, it's pretty straight up, you know? But yeah, I mean, there were people who would talk shit back in the day, especially, you know, they talk about how I ruined my life, or I'll never have a career or a job, or I'll never be happy. I'll never find a mate, you know, all this crap, which, you know, we all know is just small town bullshit and small mind thinking. But, you know, at the time it had a big effect on me because, of course, a lot of negative reinforcement just breeds negative reinforcement, right? But, you know, over the years, I just learned how to kind of brush that off because that's their problem. That's not my problem. I'm not going to carry that for them. So.
That's awesome. A comment from, or a question from the chat. Favorite sports teams?
Who? You know, that's funny. Someone would ask that because honestly, I can't even really name a sports team.
Okay, so favorite authors.
Oh, favorite authors is easy. You know, like, honestly, I love reading Henry Rollins. Like, people like that tend to be like, it's always like Renaissance type men, you know what I mean? And I read primarily biographies about musicians and other kind of people that I would deem great, you know, like, because if you read something about Abraham Lincoln and then you read something about Gene Simmons, you know, from Kiss, you realize that they both got to their places in life because of certain kind of commonalities or consistencies, and it's usually like 3 to 5 things. And if I read biographies, it's usually, you know, 3 to 5 things that are in common between all those people because they were driven, they work hard, they didn't stray from the path, like all these things. So it's pretty interesting, and I try to kind of steal those morsels for me. So I guess I didn't fully answer that question, favorite authors. But that's what I'm into. That's what I read. That's what I'm all about. And to go back to your sports teams thing, I think last time someone asked me about this, I said something and they laughed at me about the Houston Oilers. And I found out that they're not even a team and haven't been for like years. So that's what I got.
Well, you can say, you know, the Houston Oilers and take it up to the Tennessee Titans now. But I mean, being in Iowa, you could just say I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan and go with it because you're close enough and they're the Super Bowl champions and just go with it, you know?
Oh, are they champions? See, I don't even know. Like, I follow music, but I don't follow virtually anything else because I'm so busy with like life and things and goals and family that, like, sports, man, like, I don't even know. Like, I wish I could because that's like one of those kind of gentlemanly, like, elbow rub things to discuss. But I always fall back on shit like travel and cigars and whiskey and, you know, shit like that. So
Dude,
that's going to lead into a question then, like, what's your favorite whiskey?
You know, honestly, I tend to lean always toward Macallan 18. And I don't know what it is about 18 year, but like, I can have a 12 year, I can have a 15 year, but that 18, man, it's that sweet spot for me. That's my go-to kind of top shelf. And I cross over at times as well with Clase Azul tequila if I'm sipping with a cigar. But if we're talking kind of more bottom shelf, I almost always go with Old Smoky Salted Caramel Tennessee whiskey because it's like I'm not drinking whiskey and it goes well with a heavy cigar because of that sweetness. So that's what I base it around. What about you guys? Like, have you guys had like the 18-year Macallan, or is it something else?
I'm a Glenlivet 18 fan.
Nice. I'm not sure I've had their 18.
Or a Balvenie, a nice Balvenie. But I'm a Scotch guy, you know.
I gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's be real. If somebody's paying for it for me, I'm an anything guy. But my
Yeah.
primary is Macallan. But like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll go with a Jack and Coke any day. So
I think I heard maybe it was on a live stream where you and Sin were talking about that salted caramel, that
yeah,
old smoky,
yeah,
like how
dude,
somebody was saying they couldn't get it where they lived, and I was like, well, it happens.
yeah. It's
What
so good, and it's like, I mean, it's a whiskey, and I'm not usually. Oh yeah, heck yeah. I can't quite see what that is, but
That's a morphine,
nice. You
black
know
label
what?
morphine.
Yeah, I got you. I could see the centerpiece of the image there. So cool.
Yeah,
Damn, have
this
you
is your
had one
fault.
yet?
No, this is the one I've been saving until after the interview. This is the one.
Awesome. Awesome. Man, black label stuff in terms of cigars, when it comes down to like a line that I can just smoke anything from them, it's black label. I'll talk them up all day long. Wonderful people. James and Angela, the owners, are awesome. And I mean, the product is just top shelf stellar. And the price, like, you're not talking a $18 cigar, but in my opinion, for $8-10, you're getting an $18 cigar. I mean, it's so good.
Is
Is
that
that where your
who's
hat's from?
Oh yeah, yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
absolutely where my hat's from. I didn't even recognize that I had that on. Yeah, yes.
was that where you were at in Nicaragua? Is that where
Uh,
you went?
yeah, we were down there at their the Blackworks Studios. Oveja Negra is actually the name of their top level kind of brand name for the factory. But yeah, we were down at Oveja Negra in Esteli, Nicaragua. Yep,
That's amazing.
dude, amazing for sure. Like, awesome experience, and I can't wait to go back. Like, our long-term plan is to be in Central America permanently. So slow and steady, we're working on it.
Absolutely. I feel like last time you and I really chatted, you were in Michigan, maybe.
Yeah, yep. We were in Michigan. My wife and kids are from that area, and we had a house there. And actually, right after we got back from Nicaragua, we sold it and moved to Iowa just because simpler, easier. I grew up in central Iowa, so made the transition super simple. But yeah, kids love it here. Real chill, cheaper cost of living too. So who's gonna bitch about that?
So let's fast forward. I want to get into this amazing piece of work right
Oh
here
yeah,
at some
thank you.
point. But so moving forward, so you've had people telling you the same crap. The world tries to tell everybody, right? You're never going to be anything. You're never going to do anything. I think I can only speak for me, but I feel like that's something that a lot of people hear and that a lot of people overcome. So moving forward, you've become a successful author. To backtrack just a little bit, Henry Rollins' spoken word is amazing. Like that
Yes.
dude is so epic, but and just some of his music. I think I'm really sliding back in the conversation a little bit, but I remember what was it, the Liar video where he was like covered in paint and
Yep.
just. I think that was one of the defining moments in my life where I decided what kind of music I will listen to forever. But so you've broken every one of those boundaries, right? The mate they say you never had. You and your wife are probably the best fit couple I've ever seen in my life. You guys are like, it's almost two parts to one thing, and that's. I mean, I think rarely people find that. I'm glad you guys did.
Yeah.
So now you've got the awesome wife. You've got a huge, an insanely huge dog, a hairless cat, right? That just
Yep.
runs around. So, like, what would you say to somebody that's in the beginning stages, like someone that's in that, you're never going to be anything, you're never going to amount to anything, or whatever? Like, what would your advice be to someone coming through that right now? Because I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that is.
Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of two things, and those two things are that, number one, consider the reason people say that to other people, and it's because what you, me, we want to do in our life is terrifying to them because it's not what they want in their life. So it seems impossible or unlikely that you'd succeed because based on the variables they're aware of in their own life, it doesn't fit. But of course it doesn't fucking fit because it's their life they're basing their advice on. So it's not going to work. It's like, I would never ask my father travel advice. Why? He doesn't travel. So it's dumb to ask him. So, that's what I always suggest to consider. And the other piece of it is take no shit. Don't stray from the damn path. Keep going. Believe it's possible and just get shit done. Don't put a timeline to it specifically. Just know, you know what, in a year, I would like to get closer to this, this spot. And you'll be closer there. As long as you're working for it, yeah, you can put a timeline to specific goals. But if you don't get there, don't worry about it. Just understand you're as close as you could possibly get to getting there without actually reaching it because you worked for it. And it's okay. You'll get there. You're going to see how far you've come. So just keep kicking ass and don't stray from that path. Don't let anybody take it from you. And too many people do. The people that I thought in my one-on-one coaching business that I'd be dealing with students mostly, it's not. It's mostly like 30-somethings and early 40-somethings that strayed from their path and are looking to get back on it because they settled. Because people said, well, you should just get a job at a factory and make that cash instead of suffering for 15 years for what you want. Well, I suffered for 18 years to get what I wanted, and it was fucking worth it. And now they're coming to me after not, and they're not happy, even though they got, an RV, a house, a dog, and, 6 kids and a wife. They're still unhappy. So they're trying to figure out how to kind of bring in those bits and pieces to live the life that they dreamed of when they were 15. So, yeah, just go, just do it. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think especially recently, and I even think I know you and I have kind of talked about haters in DMs in the past, but I reached that point, I think a couple weeks ago, Tyson and I have talked about it, where it started getting in here, and I just had to remind myself, I just had to buckle down, get back on the path, and who gives a shit what they say? You know what I mean? Like, I think so many people, especially in the small community we're in, how many people are just like, oh, well, if such and such says I'm such and such, then that's what I am. And right. I love to see people get back to, if I'm true to me, to my path, whatever my choices are, who cares what everybody else thinks? Right. I see it too often. So I like that whole stay on the path. It's just, I wish people did that. And you're right. I don't see a lot of, the world is a weird place compared to when I was 15.
Right.
But it's not like the 15-year-olds or the super unhappy ones. It's the people that are 30s, 40s, are nowhere near where they thought they'd be, having the Al Bundy syndrome, like they threw a touchdown one time at a high school and it was the one point in their life where life made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it, but yeah, it is what it is, man. That's where I got to be today.
And that's true. What it really comes down to is number one, whatever people say about me is absolutely what I am to them. And I'm okay with that. They can label me whatever I am. That doesn't make that reality. It makes it their truth, but that doesn't make it reality, if that makes sense. And that's fine. That can be their reality. They can live it however they want. But my reality is different. And I'm going to live it my way. And I'm the one not talking shit about anybody and running around with a smile on my face, kicking ass and striking goals and living my bucket list. So, who are you going to take advice from in terms of that? It's like having a trainer that's 800 pounds. Well, guess what? I'm going to probably switch trainers because that guy or gal isn't exactly, the embodiment of fitness health. And I'm not talking shit on somebody that's, that size. That's cool if you're happy. But in terms of trust and faith and things like that in that particular narrow avenue, doesn't work. It's like an unhealthy doctor telling you how to live. No, I'm not listening to that. And I'm sorry if that's narrow-minded or closed-minded, but I don't give a shit because that's not what works for me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, completely. It's like, we always say, or you always hear the term, or one of my favorites is put one foot in front of the forward and just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And like you said, is set a goal, and if you get closer in a year, you're getting closer to your goal. It's kind of, if you take 2 steps forward and take 1 step back, you still moved a step forward. Even though you had a regression, you still moved a foot forward.
Yep.
And I think that's super hard to remember at times for a lot of people, including myself, especially, 2020 has been a rough year for a lot of people between job loss and sicknesses and family loss and everything like that. But, I kind of want to talk a little bit about how did you make the transition from into speaking, did you write a book first and then people got a hold of that and kind of liked what you had to say in the book? So then all of a sudden they deemed you to be a public speaker and started reaching out, asking you to speak?
Yeah. I mean, what it came down to is I released my first book in 2004. It really didn't sell a shit ton of copies, which is probably good because it was a really dark book. I wasn't happy. It was written in a time when I was at my darkest, and I kind of started, changing my mindset and stuff. So I was able to kind of see that through, if that makes sense, as far as the process of releasing the book. Anyway, it got picked up by a couple of colleges for their creative writing classes. So, they'd buy X number of books for their students, who would then obviously purchase the books, probably at a highly inflated price at the college bookstore. And then I would go in and I would speak with them after they read the book and wrote their essays and all the stuff, right? And that kind of started to prime me for kind of a bigger stage. And then I released another book, which kind of put me into coffee shops and doing more public things. And then the book after that, which was called Inspiration on Demand, it dropped pretty huge. I was doing, things on like Fox News and all kinds of shit. And then started getting calls from corporations and from schools to kind of tell my story and, connect people in the way that I do, whether it was employees or students and staff or, fellow students or whatever. So that's kind of how it all worked out. So it all built up to about 2013, 14, when shit really took off. And instead of doing, rooms with 25 to 50 people, I started doing, minimum like 250, 300 people. So, all the way up to thousands, 3,500, 4,000, whatever, so that's kind of how it slowly kind of stepped into place, which is good because, I don't know if I could have done, 3,000 people at the first go, that probably would have been a bit overwhelming. I don't know, and I probably would have been absolutely terrible as well. So, those 25 people or those small classes really paid off for kind of taking my lumps, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that mindset, like you just hit the nail on the head with what we deal with on the content creation side, is everybody wants to have 50,000 subscribers to their channel, but are you primed for what 50,000 people takes? Or do you want to build it slowly? I'm a big fan of building it slowly. Speaking of YouTube, I feel like a while back I watched a video of how to talk to ladies. Did you? It was, and you had like the safety vest on, talking.
Yeah.
That's a great video.
Yeah, that's an old video where it was what if cat calls were compliments?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, to be honest, I was just somewhere and I heard some construction workers, which I know is a stereotype, but it's a stereotype for a reason. Calling out to some chick, and I'm like, God, what if they yelled out compliments? Like, would that really work? So we just made a video about it because we thought it'd be funny.
But that goes into like the creative mindset, right? Like how many people can be in that situation and that switch flips. I think a lot of people miss that train right there because people have that thought. And, I wish everybody would pick up a camera. You don't even have to pick up a camera. Everybody's got a great camera on their phone these days. Right. And just shoot the film and just see what happens. I think we would see such a creative boom and really see some cool stuff and cool thoughts come out. I thought that went a totally different way when you made it. I figured you just sat down and scripted it out. But now to look at it that way, that's awesome, dude. Honestly,
I'm a big advocate of never saying, I wish I would have thought of that. Like everybody walks into the grocery store and sees like those like, $1.50 things right by the register that are like stupid things that you can use every day for the top of like a jar, or some brush that cleans out something that you thought at one point when you were cleaning out that thing, like, gosh, they should have a brush for this. You thought of that, but what you didn't do was act upon it. And now someone did, and they're making a ton of cash, right? And I never want to be the guy that kind of does that. So I'm always taking notes when I'm out and about and whatever. If I'm reading something or helping someone, if I say a line to somebody in DMs or whatever, or even miss, if there's something, I'd grab my phone and I'd take a note about it, because at the end of the day, that's part of my next book. That's part of my next post. That's part of something bigger long term. And I think it's important to not let those things go. So that's where that silly video came from. And truly, I'm at my best when I keep it simple. Like my daily posts or even my TikTok videos, like they're really basic, and it's really about just kind of getting a point across to people that need to hear it. And I often think, well, I should really kind of make things more elaborate. Maybe you could reach a bigger audience, or, do something different like that. But then I'm also like, you know what? Number one, I don't want to, because it's not authentic. It doesn't feel right. Until it feels right, I'm not going to do it. And if I have this grand idea to do some, spoken word rap video thing, then I'll do it. But if I never have that kind of feeling in my nuts to do it, I'm not going to do it. So that's why I keep things simple. I have a zillion ideas, tons of them. I have like a Google Drive that's like 55 pages long of just like ideas that they may get used, they may never get used, but they're there for somebody someday to maybe pick through, and maybe they're going to use it. I don't know. But I always keep track of that stuff for the very reason you said, just because it's important. It's important to log things like that, I think.
I think sometimes simplicity makes everything that much better, just to keep it simple. When you look at your daily posts, like you literally are holding a piece of paper or writing on a whiteboard with a super inspirational something that you wrote, and it's like, right. You could make a video about it. You could do a 30-second video clip and say what you want to say that you wrote down, but that has become like this big thing that when people hear Joshua Coburn, like that's the first thing I think of is a picture of you holding a sign up saying something. It's become the thing, and it's just super simple. So yeah, I think sometimes just keeping everything nice and simple like that, it actually comes across really nice and impactful. It's a lot more impactful than they can scroll through and see that and read it real quick, mm-hmm. and then keep on scrolling, and it's going to have that mental impact as to where if they have to watch a 30-second video, they might not watch it, No, so I think you get more reach that way.
They're 6 seconds in and bored, or something. And that's kind of my thing too. And there might be better ways to do it. I don't know. But again, I'm not there yet. I still write those for me. That's what's important. And I want to hear that, whatever I wrote. So I just think, okay, I'm putting it out here. And if somebody else is going to get value out of it, great. Because I don't attach value to those things. Other people do, right? So that's what I think is kind of lost on a lot of people on social media in general. They're like, oh, I post 3 times a day. Why doesn't anybody care? And you post once a day and people care. And it's like, look, what are you providing people in terms of value? People are going on to social media to be social, to learn, and to be entertained. There's nothing else there. So, if you're posting about how your life sucks, well, I don't want to see how your life sucks, so I'm not going to follow you. And if you're posting, about, the latest video game and how, you cleared, the first goal with that provides value to somebody who cares about video games, especially this new game. So you have to understand, like, whatever you're doing has to have some kind of value to some human being, or you're not going to make games. The other piece of that is it real? If it's real, authentic content, then someone's going to connect. And it doesn't matter if you have 100 or 100,000 followers. If you have 100,000 followers and only 100 are connecting with what you're doing, then you still only have 100 followers. So
Yep.
really it comes down to really connecting with your 100 people. Then they're going to talk to 100 other people, and eventually you'll have 200 people that really give a shit about what you're doing. And that's what I think gets lost on people, is they're like, well, I post all the time. It's like, well, do you post valuable shit or no? Because if it's not valuable, or if it's only valuable to this many people, well, that's the amount of people you're going to have. It's your local followership, your small circle, and that's fine to have that. But if your goal is to be huge, well, look at Nickelback. Everybody hates them, but somebody's buying their records because you know what? They're a monster friggin' band and they're selling out tours. So authentic or not, you can make changes too to be business, and you can angle things that way too. So look at your data, look at all that stuff. There's so many different ways to go about it. But anyway,
so who I found interest in it in another band that he'd been in, but I've been, and this is a name probably, if you know it, you and I will probably be the only two in the area or in the room that know it. Ronnie Radke, dude.
Oh yeah,
like
right.
I have been finding so much, like his Twitch stuff, his music. I remember Escape the Fate, probably one of my all-time favorite bands, and then when Falling in Reverse came, he went through everything. You know, that guy's been through it all. Like same thing we're talking about. Oh, you're never going to be anything. Ends up in jail, and just comes out a monstrosity. Like that guy, I've been finding much inspiration from his stuff lately. The dude's amazing, man. Amazing.
And he didn't only talk about how he was going to change the game. He changed the game. Period.
Yeah.
And that's hugely important. He's a great example. And there's some things he says and does that I don't agree with. But you know what? He doesn't give a shit. And it doesn't matter, because he's out there killing it every day his way. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Provide value, kick ass, don't worry about what anybody else says, and just do it your way. Just because I don't agree 100% doesn't mean he's not slaying it, and he is slaying every piece of things,
Yeah, him and I were in a Twitch stream, and I'm like, look, man, I'd be a jerk if I didn't ask. Like, what's it take for you to get me to get an interview at you on the YouTube channel? He's like, bro, as much as I'd love to, I can't do it. Yep. But it's people like that. And I think I know there's people like that in everywhere. I could definitely think of any other genre. He just happens to be a musician. Right. Sports, even weightlifting. Mm-hmm. I've heard some Eric Thomas. A lot of people probably don't know that name that aren't into watching anything motivational. But even like that guy, Les Brown, so many people, the stories all tie together somehow. It always comes from, this is where I was. I didn't want to be there anymore. This is what I did, and this is where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's it. I don't do anything outside the norm. Like, that's no bullshit. I don't say things that are different. I just tell my story, truly. Like, and every day when I post, like, all that is just me reminding myself to keep your head straight and remember this thing, whatever it is that I post. And that's it. Like, you're right. Everything, I mean, let's be real. If you're going to speak, if you're going to get on stage, for those aspiring speakers out there, think about your speech in terms of every Disney movie that's ever existed, right? You have Cinderella or some other character who is down on their luck. Then, oh my, there's a glimmer of hope. Oh, I fell down again and things don't look good. Oh, wait, though, I had this great experience, and now my prince found the shoe, not the golden slipper, the glass slipper, and he came to find me, and now everything's good, right? So you have basically this, this down, a slight bump up, of course, when she gets invited to the ball, and then a way down, because that happens to all of us, and then a growth period back up. That's your story. That's what every Disney movie is based on. Look at all of them. And that's exactly what speakers use, because that's what works. And it just so happens that that's my life. It just worked out like that, because, if you don't have a beginning, middle, and end, you don't have a story. And at the end of the day, if your story is shit, if it's not inspiring or exciting, then you're not going to really leave people with actionable items when they leave. And that's what's most important.
We have a question from the comments here. Your favorite genre of food and your favorite dish?
Ooh, man, you know what? I don't eat meat really too much, but I do love sushi. Um, and you know what? I love, absolutely love Italian food. I'm a huge pizza guy. Like even bad, it's a pizza and horror like the same. Even bad horror or bad pizza is still really good. So that's kind of where I'm at. But gosh, I could eat sushi every day.
Is
That's my
there a
favorite
decent
sushi.
sushi place in Iowa?
Believe it or not, there is, and I would put it up against any sushi that I've had, whether it's in Japan or on any coast. It's really, really good, and they get their stuff shipped in every day, so it's it's not like it's been sitting for 2 weeks frozen. But yeah, it's really good. It's called Three Samurai for anybody watching that happens to be in Iowa.
Yeah, there is a couple people from Iowa area that watch. So,
Nice.
So how long have you been growing a beard? Because there's more pictures of you without a beard than there is with a beard.
Right. Yeah, I have had this beard for probably 4 years. So of course I started my kind of public life without a beard. It was more like the thin like boy band
Chin strap.
Yeah, exactly. But I said if I ever got a divorce, which I did, that I would absolutely grow my beard out as big as I could and keep that shit forever. So here we are. And that was about 5 years ago, give or take. So I've had it about that long. Hey,
And this
that leads me to my next question. How did the collaboration beard oil come about?
You know what? I was actually local in proximity to Dan Command or Dan C Bearded on YouTube. He's a friend of weirdly my wife, and she connected with him, and of course we watched his YouTube shows and stuff. And I'm just a dude with a beard. I wasn't a dude who's like, super bearded and like has to, have all the products and do all these things to it. I was just a guy with a beard. And so I went on his show as a guest, and we talked through that, like, what do I need to do, what can be done, and all that. And through that, we met with a lot of different wonderful beard companies, and honestly, everybody in that world comes across as genuine and kind and nice. And there's a lot of great beard companies, as far as I can tell. But we worked with Joe over at Beard Octane because he was excited about what we wanted to do and the fragrances we wanted. And at the end of the day, his shit's great too. Like his general baseline. And how could we not work with a good dude who's excited to do things that already has a quality core line? So that's kind of how that came about. And now, of course, Coburn and Sinful. And, people are like, why the hell would your wife have that? And it's like, well, look, if dudes don't take cues from their wife about how they smell, they are crazy. So that's why I was like, what would you like me to smell like, And that's what she kind of brought forth.
Yeah, and
that's how I talk about it. And when I do reviews and stuff, is it's like your ladies are gonna like this scent or find scents your ladies like, because hey, your beards, if you want it touching up on their face and their body, they gotta like the smell of it. So
yeah, exactly. Yep. So that's kind of how that all went.
I have both the scents, and I might like Sinful more. I haven't,
Yeah.
It's a close tie. They're both great.
Consensus.
Is it?
Yeah. Yep. Apparently, from what I'm told from ladies anyway, is that vanilla is such like a single dude scent, right? And maybe it is, but damn it, I love the smell of vanilla. But if I'm being real, I actually wear the Sinful scent more because obviously that's what my wife likes. So that's what I'm going to wear more, and they both serve the same purpose, obviously. So it works out.
I really like the way Joe did that.
Yeah, it's really good.
I was going to say, I think I lost you both, but I think I got you both back. That was quick.
Oh, well. Welcome to the internet in 2020.
Yeah,
Right,
no
right.
doubt.
So, we talked about this a little bit in the green room, but for everybody that's watching, how, as being a public speaker and, doing all the traveling around the world and stuff, how has 2020 changed your life and your family's life, and how are you continuing to motivate in other ways other than in person?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not traveling, and I haven't been really traveling since March, which has actually been great. I look forward to things like going on dog walks and spending the evening at home with my family. So that's been really nice. Um, but and I don't have to focus on rehearsing and things like that. And instead of reaching 300 or 3,000 people in a speaking gig, what I end up doing is reaching 500,000 people a month on social media. And I mean, I would do that anyway, right? But it allows me to really engage more. I can respond to comments more. I can respond to DMs more. I'm more present with all that. So that's been good. Plus, what a lot of people don't know, I apologize. I live near train tracks. So if you can hear the train behind me, sorry, but that's the life.
It's oddly soothing.
Perfect. But a lot of people don't know as well that my wife and I own a social media marketing company as well. So we focus a lot of time around that. We do a lot of stuff with cigar brands and cigar companies. And obviously we're busy kind of outside of just that piece of the puzzle. So we always have a million irons in the fire. It just so happens that, when things like 2020 happen, you pivot a little bit, you make slight changes, and you continue to kick ass, because that's really all we can do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, pretty much. So your latest book, I believe David has it there. David, I'm going to let you ask questions about the book because you have it. I don't physically have it with me. But I want to talk about that. I want to hear about that book a little bit.
So not only do I have it, but Josh is awesome enough to sign every copy, I think, right? Every copy that goes out?
Yep, I do. I do that deliberately. That's why I pulled all my books from like Amazon. Well, I guess I have one book on there, but Amazon and all that doesn't sell it anymore, because I want to touch those books. I don't need fucking Amazon and Barnes and Noble anymore. Like, who needs that shit? Stop cutting into my profits and making it in person.
Absolutely. So this page is one that I had marked, and this, I think you said it best. I don't know if this is the book you're referring to that got you into the coffee shops or whatever, but this is just one of the books I can pick up and go to any page, and it's daily stuff. I mean, it says it's shit that needs said. I mean, that covers that whole book. But when we choose not to wear a mask, the world sees that we are all the same. That is one I bet I've read 500,000 times. But this book, anybody that doesn't have it, and not just because Josh and I have talked, but because everything in this book it's so relevant to everybody. Like, you could be in any situation and there's something in here. How long did this take to write?
It's funny. The story behind the book is because, I mean, honestly, when I wrote it, it was, I believe, December. And in November, if you would have said, hey, are you working on another book? I would have said no. But in December, I decided, you know what? I want to make a goal to get a book out by June. I wanted to give myself 6 months to do it, because that seems silly. That's a silly time frame. And I called my buddy and I'm like, hey man, I need you to help me with design on this, which, as the design, it's more about design and words and art than it is just like written stuff on a page, right? So I called him, like, hey, is this doable? He was like, that's a really tight timeline. Yeah, exactly. He's like, that's a really tight timeline to make that happen. I'm like, I know, but I will have everything to you March 1st. So I started writing that from December until March 1st. He got it March 1st, knocked out everything until May, and then it headed to the printer after that for a release in that following August. So that's really kind of how it went. But I'm always writing. So it's a matter of kind of pulling things that start to make sense together, rather than just sitting down and, at a typewriter or a computer and just hammering it out. It doesn't work that way with me. So, I mean, I have another book fully written in my phone and other places that I just got to compile it. I already have the title. It's ready to rock. It's just a matter of getting it done and deciding when I'm ready to live that. You know what I mean?
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
how many copies do you think this one has sold?
I'm not 1,000% sure, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure we have the numbers somewhere, but
Just roughly, what do you think?
oh, I mean, thousands. I'm not. No, I'm not a million seller. I'm not. It's not a. That's never been a goal of mine, right? It's about, like we talked about, being authentic and putting things out the way you want. Because if I told a publisher that, hey, I want to put a book out, and I want it to be art mixed with words, and I want glossy pages with a cool cover that is kind of like an old school Bible, and then I want to put a DVD slipcover over it to get a whole different vibe, like old school DIY stuff. What do you think of that? That publisher would have been like, "You're crazy. It's going to cost too much. We're not doing it." And that's why I own my own publishing company, because I want to do things my way. And that book, in my opinion, gives a ton of bang for the buck for what you're getting.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
cool. And that's really what it's always been about. So what a lot of people don't realize is, if you have distribution, worldwide distribution, if you have, publisher, if you have an advance, you have all these things, you have to pay that advance back, right? You have to make up for return books, damaged books, all that stuff. Not only that, you have to account for manufacturing, so that goes in sales too, and then you get a small percentage of sales after your publisher. You're the last one to get paid. So Stephen King, yeah, sure, when you sell 80 bajillion books, you're going to be making money. But if you're selling 10,000 books through a publisher, you didn't make shit. But if you're independent and you sell 10,000 books, you made a hell of a lot of money. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's why, like, musicians and stuff like that are going more independent, because if you can bankroll yourself, start your own damn business. It's worth it.
And if you could have told that publisher, like, I'm going to throw this really cool. And,
right.
And for the record, anybody can look back through the videos and see that that's been up there the whole time if they pay attention. But yeah, man,
But yeah, that's what it's about, though. Adding value, right? If somebody buys a book, I always throw something in there, because, people are excited for the book and they're like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like a little something extra, a little split for you. And that's what it's really about, providing more value than expected. I get to do that, and it's hugely beneficial and wonderful. It feels good to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've been going for about an hour here. So if there's any final comments or questions in the comments, let us know. So what's kind of the rest of the year look like for you? Enjoying the holidays, things like that? Or you got any big plans, anything going on in your world?
You know what? Gym, whiskey, cigars, spending time with my family, rolling through the rest of the year, trying to take it easy, honestly. Next year is going to be filled with, really planning. 2021's, late 2021, you'll see some developments and things happening, but 2021, the first part of the year, is going to be kind of laying the groundwork in whatever this world looks like to do new, bigger, better things. So that's where we're at.
So you mentioned gym. How you everyday gym? Do you get to go to the gym, or is it closed down?
We have a gym in our kind of complex that we live in, because everything here is private. You can't get in, all that stuff. So it's wonderful. And so we have a private gym that we're able to go to and work out in, which has been great. When that was closed down, I just worked with bands. But yeah, I absolutely hit the gym. Generally 3 to 5 times a week is my goal. And I've been shifting focus away from like heavy bodybuilding to more kind of cardio and stuff like that, to lean out a bit, feel a little better, instead of kind of lugging around some big shoulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy cardio better for that, just because I'm 5'8". It's I don't like carrying around the fat. Or when I used to be more muscular because I was in the gym all the time. And it's like I feel better being leaner from doing cardio. It's just easier to get everything around. But
I was just thinking it. It must be nice to be 5'8". That's kind of what I was thinking, but
Well, I'm only 5'6", so I'm a short.
yeah, and I'm an inch shorter than you.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I'm 5'5".
Wow.
I've never been the tallest one in a room with
What?
3 grown men. I've never had that happen at 5'8". So here we go.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Now it has
There's a place for
happened.
everything. All right, Josh. Well, we'll let you get going here so you can enjoy the rest of the night with your family. And we really, really appreciate you coming on. I love your stuff.
pleasure.
Love what you're doing. Definitely an inspiration to a lot of people out there. And so I just thank you for that and want you to know that you're appreciated, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you guys so much for your time as well. And all the listeners, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody.